want to introduce this topic reading with you. If you have your Bibles in any format you can use or you have available. Ezekiel chapter 34. I heard a preacher not too long ago saying we need to use the Bible as it is, as a book. He made me feel guilty. I have to rush to the store and buy one because I don't have one with me, and I would be speaking the following 2 days. But then I thought, you know what? If we have to follow Jesus' example, we need to bring the rolls, right? The manuscripts. So I don't know. So I'm not recommending anything. I just read the Bible, okay, whatever format you have available. So Ezekiel chapter 34, verse 11. And it says, someone to eat this during the week, and I receive it. So this is one of those phrases that it is tweetable, right? Some of you know what is that, so you can do it. For this is what the sovereign Lord says. I myself will search for my sheep and look after them. I don't know how many of you, I read this so many times, but I never stopped to think and consider the importance of this text. And when I saw the tweet, and the tweet has this, is tweet popular here? Yeah? More or less. Not really? Okay. So when you have a limited number of letters or words, actually letters for the message, you concentrate on the most important part of it, okay? So a short message like this has a great impact. Sometimes when you talk for too long, you lose the focus, right? So it's harder to speak for a short period of time. You have to prepare even more. I mean, keep talking the whole day. That's easy, right? We have plenty of stories to tell. But when you have a limited time or limited space or number of letters to use, you have to be very intentional, right? I myself, says the Lord, will search for my sheep and look after them. Well, you are here to do God's work. And the Lord said that he will look after his sheep. So guess what? What we're supposed to do? That's one of the main challenges we have today. So I want to share with you something regarding nurture and retention. Okay? This is not a devotional itself, but it's a challenge to catch our attention for something that somehow we are not doing very well. Okay? And it's not just an Adventist problem. This starts a few decades before among the mainline Protestants or evangelicals or the denominations that are more traditional Protestant. During that period, 1965 to 1990, mainline denominations lost 1/3 of their membership. We are talking about millions of members. This data is from North America, okay? The first part. The second part is about the Adventist church worldwide. So have this in mind. When I speak about the mainline denominations, I'm talking about Christian Protestant churches in North America. But Adventist church, this study of 2001 was made taking consideration the Adventist church worldwide. And during that time, 73% of those reared in Adventist church stayed. This has dropped in recent years to 60%. What does it mean? Well, it means that we are keeping less young people, those who were raised inside the church, we are keeping less than we used to do. So something is happening, and it is a large number. Okay, Christian leaders attribute the current situation to faulty discipleship. The foundation problem of the church is that it embodies superficial discipleship. Research has been done, and this is the problem that has been identified. What I mean is, someone asked, what do you mean? Is that what you said? Okay. It means that we may be focused on membership and not on discipleship. And membership is different than discipleship. See, to be a good member, you don't have to do anything. Actually, don't do anything. You'll be a good standard member. Just sit down, behave, don't give me trouble. You're a good member. Show up on church once a week. That's it. If you want to be the best member we ever had, tithe. That's it. You don't have to do anything to be a good member. But discipleship, disciple is totally different. See, the standard for discipleship in the Bible, it's way higher than just doing nothing. You have to do a lot, and Jesus said you have to deny yourself, take up your cross, and follow me. Requires a lot of commitment to be a disciple. To be a member, it's pretty easy. Don't do anything. You're a good member. Total number of mainline Protestant adults has decreased. Again, this is North America. Roughly about 5 million during this period of time from 2007 to 2014. From about 41 million to 36 million. So we are talking about a population of how many, Anthony? 300? Yeah, 300 million. So we used to have 10 years ago 41 million. Now we have 36 million. So it's a huge decrease.
Just a comment, but that decrease in 5 million doesn't mean that they're not all Christians now, because many of them are left Christianity, but many others are called the switchers. Mm-hmm. So they got fed up with the...
Explain this.
So in America, we have a lot of Christians. They're called switchers. So they got fed. We live in a post-denominational age. They don't want to be part of a denomination, and so they switch to non-denominational churches, evangelical non-denominational churches. So many of them have left Christianity, but others of them have switched to post-denominational structures. And of course, they discover those churches have their own challenges and everything as well. But that's a big portion of that.
Or don't even have affiliation to any church. They still Christians, consider themselves Christians. And like we have Adventists in many urban areas, that research has been done in some places that we have as many Adventists that are not Adventists anymore, but they still consider themselves Adventists. So it's a huge number.
They're not part of the church, but they would need pork.
Yeah, okay.
So there's certain cultural things that are still...
Yeah, they still keep as part of the tradition, correct. So about church attendance that was mentioned sometime today, I don't know, it was me or Anthony, counting attendance. This is what happened in North America. This is probably one of the most comprehensive study about the church in North America, and I believe will be pretty close to the reality you have here if your situation is not even worse, because the process of secularization in Australia starts way before the North America. And you can see the decrease of attendance in any given Christian church in North America. And they consider attendance at least once or twice a year, not week. Okay? Have this in mind. So, okay. Our president mentioned earlier this morning about that strategy that the church has of reach the world, reach up, reach in, and reach out. You have some strategic planning in this conference. I've read part of it, and I like the way Elder Christian mentioned this morning. Very, very simple approach and emphasis on just a few important areas, and this helps us to be intentional and focus in what is really important regarding mission. But in terms of membership and how many people, percentage we were able to retain, it is unbelievable. When you look to those numbers and you see the global membership and loss between 1965 and 2014, we have a net loss of about 40%. And the numbers are growing. The percentage of loss is growing. So in recent years, we are losing even more than in the beginning of that period. Some might say that part of this is because we are implementing the digital system for membership but it doesn't change the reality. We don't have those members. When we say 20 million members, we don't have that. And we are still losing. We might say that a lot of those, 13,026,000, that's the total loss during that period. We have a lot of duplication in the names, or people that move to another place and never ask their transfer. Whatever reason, we still have a lot of people. I would guess at least half of those who are, 6, 7 million people that we lost during that period. So it is something to consider that, something's not right, okay? There is a problem there. I may not know the solution, but there is a problem. Well, part of that research that was made around 2011, 2012 was reported in 2013 when we have the World Summit of Retention and Nurture and Retention. And it's hard to see there, but one of the questions made in that survey was the most important reason people leave the church. And if you can see there, the first one, which is about more than 40%, the reason is stated, lack of friends. So the main reason people leave the church is not because they don't know the doctrine, or they don't believe in the doctrine, or they don't agree with the spirit of prophecy, or the plan of tithing, no, it's lack of friendship. They don't develop a network of a social network, a support system to help them. So they just get discouraged, or when they face some kind of challenge, they don't have the kind of support they need to stay. They leave. Another question raises, what event triggered your decision to leave? Again, this is Adventist Church worldwide. And when you read the first 6 reasons people leave the church, you have conflicts in the church, conflicts with the leadership, elders or pastors, okay? Conflicts at home, all kinds of conflicts and problems of relationships. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, then you see some doctrines that I don't agree. So let's solve the problem with retention, or people that are leaving the church. Let's start another class, another Bible study after they are baptized. It doesn't help. We may need to start seminars and workshops about conflict resolution, right? Because we have problems of relationships. And we need to invest time and pray about and learn about how to deal with those situations. So just add another class or Bible study or post-baptismal class. It's not going to help, because that's not the main reason people are leaving. I'm not saying that giving Bible studies and explaining the doctrine is not important. Now I go to what you remind me a couple of times today, okay? I really believe that Bible study is extremely important. So important that I developed my own approach for Bible study. If I ask you, what is the best Bible study, you might say, La Fe de Jesus, because this is the one you use. Oh, and actually, this is the best Bible study you can get, the one you use. Because you may have the best outline for Bible study, but if you don't use it, what is that good for? It's worthless, okay? There is no point. Well, I personally like this one, not because I developed, but because I feel comfortable using it, okay? That's the one I use, so this is the best one for me, right? There is something interesting about it. You can download an app for Android or iOS, and you can have your phone or iPad, or you can have the hard copy if you want. I can still get that for you. Another good advantage for me, if you are working a multi-ethnic, or you have Spanish-speaking, French-speaking, English-speaking, Portuguese-speaking, you have all those languages plus Korean and Russian and Chinese. They were used also. But in the app, we just have 4 languages. So you can have in one place or in one setting or a family that the parents prefer, Spanish, but the kids read in English. So you can use both but it's the same content. So you present in one language, and people can read in their own language. So there are some advantages. Another thing of this Bible study, it's based on what Ellen White says in the book Evangelist. She highlights the distinctive truth, or the present truth, or the platform of truth. The most distinctive doctrines. She highlights those. So this Bible study is based on those distinctive doctrines, but covers all the 28 beliefs. It's very objective, it's short, 9 topics, 9 lessons, with 5 or 6 questions each lesson. So it's very objective, easy to use. I even use like in a reaping meetings during a week, and we use this a lot in the Spanish-speaking churches when they do reaping meetings just for one whole week. So I preach the whole Adventist message in 1 week, so people have review of all the doctrines. If they are attending church for a while and they don't, just make sure they understand all the doctrines, there is no doubt, no other questions, and they decide they will baptize at the end of the week. Not those who are starting that week, but people that are being attending church for a long time and just need an overview again, or revise the doctrine if they have some points. Anyway, I'm saying all this about Bible study because I really believe Bible study is important. Teaching the doctrine is important, no doubt about it. But people are not leaving the church because they don't believe in the doctrine. That's not the main reason. Actually, it's not among the 6 most important reasons they're leaving. Did you get that? I emphasize enough, right? Well, the last thing to say is, if you want a copy or you want to use barcode QR reader, I have some cards at the end I can give to you, and you can download for free the app. Okay? So another question was made. Overall, to what extent do you think the congregation, your church, needs to increase or improve its effort in caring and nurture? Look at that. 46% said should increase. 37% should increase or improve to some extent. 14%, we are doing fine as it is. So the vast majority say we are not doing enough. So discipleship in Christian churches in general is not effective. Okay? The book that you mentioned during this afternoon, Anthony, you mentioned this book, right? You Lost Me? That was one of the books. I think you mentioned something from that book. Oh, it's another book. Okay. But and this one says the church is not adequately preparing the next generation to follow Christ faithfully in a rapidly changing culture. We are having problems to keep our children and grandchildren involved in the church. Millions of Christians, of young Christians, are disconnecting from church as they transition into adulthood. And this, we are confirming this in our churches. Young people are leaving the church. And this is in general. It's not just a specific problem in one area. Well, Jesus was pretty clear when he presented the Great Commission. And by the way, there are at least 5 texts in the New Testament presenting the Great Commission. This is not the only one. This is the most used. But this is not the only one. I think you mentioned earlier this morning, Acts 1:8. That's one of them. It's part of the Great Commission and introduces the geographic mandate to reach all the world. Okay? In Matthew 28 is probably the most comprehensive one. And Jesus was pretty clear, even though he spoke about teaching everything I have commanded you, go, and better translation would be as you go or having gone. The mandate is not, the emphasis is not in the going part of it. It's on the making disciples. That's where the emphasis of the mandate is. All the other activities are part of the Great Commission. In other words, you can do a lot of good things, but if we are not making disciples, we are not fulfilling the Great Commission. That's the point I'm trying to make. Jesus was pretty clear when he said, I will build my church. And he was also very clear when he said, go and make disciples. I heard a preacher once making a comparison. It's something like this. You come home, you have a small child, and then you tell your child, or I would say to my granddaughter, Sophia, clean your room. Because mom is coming back soon and your room is a mess. So you don't have a problem with 5 years old. But if you have small children, you know I'm talking. Okay? After a while, you come back and you see the room is still a mess. She didn't do a thing. Can you say it again? Clean up your room. Mom is coming back soon. Clean up your room. Did you hear me? Oh, yeah, I heard you, Grandpa. I heard you say clean up my room. That's what he said. Yeah, so do it. Okay. You go away and come back half an hour later and same thing. So what do you think? Something is not right. Huh? It would be the same as Jesus come back and say, did you make disciples? It was clear enough when I asked you to do so. And we can answer, oh, I heard what you said. Yeah, I even memorized what you said. I even can say that in Greek, right? But have you done what I asked you to do? That's the main thing. We can do a lot of good things, but if we don't make disciples, we miss the most important point. And this is why Billy Graham said, and I love this quote, and he said, this is why evangelism must be our continual priority, and this is why discipleship must be our goal. So making members, doing evangelism, this is not our goal. This is part of the process of making disciples. So we cannot superemphasize just part of the process and forgetting what really want to do at the end. Because that's our goal. Making disciples is our goal. Anthony mentioned this afternoon, some of you were here, and you quickly mentioned about the baseball diamond idea of disciple making. For a while I thought this was a good approach for disciple making process. When you share the good news of salvation, a person knows about Jesus, become a member of the church, grow up and mature, following Jesus, become a follower of Jesus, a disciple, discover his gifts, start serving, becomes a minister, then learn how to share his faith and becomes a missionary. It sounds like a good approach, and I like it. But then I heard Anthony saying something else. It's like a carousel or a merry-go-round, right? Tell us a little bit, because most of them were not here, and you mentioned that pretty quick. Can you tell us again, what is this?
Sure. Any metaphor breaks down with enough use, we know that. But it's just the idea that when you're working with people, different people connect with God in different ways. Isn't it true? And making disciples often conjures a factory system model. You've gone to step 1, you've gone to step 2, and some people connect with it, and it happens that way. But everyone's in a different stage of life. So you have to identify as a church what are the specific resources you're going to offer people to grow spiritually. But just recognize that people might not start on step 1. They might start on step 3, and that's okay. So instead of thinking of a baseball diamond, I just think of it as a carousel. And you have a carousel, where you can get on wherever you want, and you can get off wherever you want. But if you're on the carousel, everyone's going to have a similar experience. So you might like the unicorn, and you might like the horse, and I might like the green fire-breathing dragon, but each of us can pick when to get off and how we're going to connect with that. So there's an intentional plan, but not trying to squeeze people into a factory model. So, for example, we have people where I work that they're already engaged in ministry, but there's some other basic things they haven't done yet, like even really studied who we are. And they're going to get that invitation, and that's going to come. But it's not that they have to do that before they could be a greeter at the door. You follow me? And so it's not about the sequence. It's about certain things that are going to be offered on a regular basis in your calendar year, and everyone knows this is what we're offering to people, and this is what we're inviting them into. So it's just, for me, a metaphor that I connect with and has helped in understanding that.
I like that. Does it make sense for you? So in other words, you can engage someone in ministry even before finishing or even start a Bible study.
Because they're leaving because they don't have friends. So that's another reason they need to be involved with ministry before they're members.
So they may...
Members, they already have friends.
they have friends, they are involved in ministry, and they at the same time they are learning and developing their knowledge of the doctrine and everything is else about the church. But you don't create a cycle that the person has to start or go over all the 28 beliefs, do 1 or 2 series of Bible study, read all the great controversy series before having any involvement in church, because at that point they might stop attending already or gave up, because sometimes we make it so difficult for people to be, or we separate them and say, oh, the visitors, those who are not Adventists. I mean, come on, stop doing that. I don't think you do this in Australia, but there are other countries that they do this a lot. And when we have a class just for the visitors, so if you're a visitor, you come right here. No. They need to be involved with the whole, all the classes, all the activities has to be offered to everybody, and not just a select group put aside and you're a visitor, you go that way. No, I wouldn't feel comfortable attending a place and be treated like that. Well, maybe here you don't do those things, so I hope not. But in other countries, this is what they do. So there is a challenge that we are facing today, okay? And what 3 types, another thing that was discovered in that survey is that what 3 types of people are most likely to leave the church. And number 1, okay, is recent converts. And that includes young people, teenagers, our children, okay? But new converts, they are most likely to leave the church. And right after that, and you can see the length of the blue line, that represents the percentage. The second one, and you see underneath, you can read it, but are those coming through public evangelism. Okay? So newly converts and those who come in through public evangelism are most likely to leave the church. So thinking about, again, about the illustration that Anthony gave us, it can be dangerous if you speed up the process, okay? So think about this. If you do something like that, and you bring someone to church and we speed up the process, so we go over quickly to the doctrines and you make an appeal. So yeah, well, have this in mind. Okay, remember, I definitely do not recommend you do this, so don't try it at home. It can be very dangerous, okay? But this is what we do with sometimes with public evangelists, trying to speed up, to take the decision, and maybe not here in Australia, but again in other countries, using manipulative, approaches or convincing people, trying to create an environment that people are pressured to take a decision that they are not ready for that yet. So it can be extremely, dangerous. So don't try this at home. First sign, when I read this quote, made me think. First sign of a culture at risk for ethical collapse. There is not just a focus on numbers and results, but an unreasonable and unrealistic obsession with meeting quantitative goals. So think about this. That may not be a problem here again, but consider this. If we make part of the process the most important thing you're doing, we may miss the main reason we are here for. And one day, Sophia, she was 4, and she heard about that story that happened. And you probably heard that that phrase become, the original phrase was, Houston, we've had a problem. When the crew of the Apollo 13 moon flight report a major technical problem. So Sophia came into she came at the living room saying, Houston, we have a problem. I can't find my shoes. So if this is a real problem, right? For a 4-year-old, yeah. But when I look to those data and the results of that survey, we really have a problem. And we have to do something about it. I don't have the solution again. What is the best thing we should do? But I'm pretty sure we have to do something. So I want to challenge you now and spend just a few minutes before you pray. And I want you to do this. If you have 2 or 3 people from one church, or if you're the only one from your church, you join another group of 2 or 3. If you have 4 from just one church, stay together as a group and try to answer those questions in a small group, no more than 4 people. And then pray about it. And let's close the meeting tonight with this. Okay? Try to answer in this small group. Is Jesus' mandate of making disciples a priority for you and your church? When I say you, I'm asking you as in your church. Okay? Do you have a plan for making disciples? It's a simple question. Since Jesus asked us, go and make disciples. So I'm asking you tonight, do you have, as a church, a plan to make disciples? Does your plan work? What are you doing to present your people mature in Christ? Can we spend 10 minutes on that in a small group? Discuss and spend some time in prayer as we close the meeting tonight. And if you want to have some of these cards to download the app, the free app, feel free to come and pick them up.